So these are the assembly instructions to my bottle gift box. These 5 pieces are what form the base of my bottle. I'm starting with the one that looks a little bit like a sun, and I'm folding down on all the score lines that form that center octagon. So I have 8 pieces that branch off from the center. For each piece, there's a long score line along one edge, and then a short score line at the end of it. There's a score line that's perpendicular to those two towards the end of my piece. I'm just going around my entire piece, folding down on all 8 sets of those score lines. So now that I've folded down on all my score lines, I'm putting glue on one of those long tabs on the score line to the edge, and I'm putting glue on the short tab as well. So, and then I'm bringing the neighboring shape over, and I'm gluing it so that the cut edge of that shape is right against the score line of my tab. And these 2 score lines towards the short tab should be even. And then I'm positioning the short one right along the score line of the tab. And it's going to flare out a little bit. So now I'm putting glue on the tab that's to the left of the piece that I've just glued in, and on the small tab as well. And then I'm just gluing the cut edge of the neighboring piece right along both of those tabs. Go in with your bone folder and just spread that glue. If you don't have a bone folder, you can go in with your Cricut tool and just spread that glue. And so I'm just working my way around the shape, doing exactly the same thing, and gluing the cut edges of the next shape right up to the score lines of the tabs. So now I'm down to the last set of tabs. So I'm going to position them so that they're in the inside of my shape, and then I'm just adding my glue as I've been doing all along, and positioning my piece the exact same way. So that's the neck of my bottle done. Now I'm going to work on the bottom of my bottle. So I have this piece, so it has the vertical score lines all the way along my shape, and I'm just folding down on those score lines. And then I have the tabs at the top and at the bottom, and I'm just folding down on them. So next I'm going to put glue on either the 4th or the 5th tab, so somewhere in the center of my piece. So I'm putting glue just along the score line to the edge of my piece, and then I'm taking the top of my bottle, so the score lines of my bottom and of my top match up. I'm just putting glue on the neighboring tab and then gluing it into position as well. And I'm working my way around the shape, putting glue on all 8 of those tabs and gluing them into position. So now I'm left with the last piece that has the side tab and the tab at the top. So I'm putting glue on both the long piece and the tab at the top. I'm slipping that tab to the inside and positioning my piece so that the cut edge of my piece is right along the score line of my tab. And the score lines are even at the top and at the bottom. And then I'm going in with my bone folder, applying pressure on the tab from the inside and with my thumb on the outside, and just gluing that last tab down. So next I have 2 pieces that look almost identical, but one of them has a cutout in the center. I'm going to be using that one, and I'm just folding down on all the score lines that form that center octagon. Each one of the small panels on the perimeter have a little score line and a little triangular tab, and I'm just folding down on all 8 of those. It's a very small piece. I've just chosen randomly one of those little tiny triangular tabs. I've put glue from the score line to the edge, and then I'm just gluing the neighboring rectangle up against the score line of that triangular tab. And I'm just working my way around my shape, gluing all 8 sides together. So with my bottle in my left hand, I'm putting glue on one of the tabs. It's the bottom of my bottle, so from the score line to the edge of that tab. And then I'm going to take that little ring piece that I've just formed, and I'm wanting to glue it right up to the score line on my tab. I want to make sure that the score lines on my bottle are even with the score lines on my ring piece, like so. And I'm putting glue on all the other tabs. You can even go in from the center. Sometimes it's easier to add the glue that way. So between my index and my thumb, I'm just positioning my pieces and pinching those tabs into place all the way around. So next I have this piece, and again I'm folding down on the score lines that form the center octagon. And I'm folding down on the score line that's on the edge of one side of each one of those panels. And next I'm putting glue on one of those tabs that I've just formed, and I'm folding the neighboring panel right up to the score line of the tab. So a lot like the previous shape. So I'm working my way around the shape, just folding it like so. And then I have my base piece, and if you notice there is a score line around the perimeter. So I'm putting glue on the back of that piece that I've just assembled, and I'm positioning within the score lines that are on that octagon. And then I'm going in with my bone folder and just spreading that glue. If you don't have a bone folder, you can use a small ruler or something with a nice clean straight edge. Next I have this piece of red foil craft board. I'm putting the shiny side down on the mat. I'm putting glue on the bottom of the piece that I've just glued on and adhering it to my craft board octagon. And so this piece will just fit into the bottom to seal my bottle. So next I have the label for the front of my bottle. I've cut my text out of white vinyl. So this is well-used transfer tape that I'm using to apply my words to my label. If the transfer tape is too sticky, it'll remove the top layer of my cardstock, and I don't want that to happen. I have a white base layer for my label. I strongly recommend using 65-pound cardstock or lighter, or you could actually use vinyl for this part as well, but you don't want anything too thick. While the glue is still wet, I'm using my bone folder and I'm kind of shaping my labels so my label has a curved shape to it, like so. I'm going to do the same with my little band for the top. I'm using my craft mat to help me center my star, also cut out of white vinyl. And I have this piece that has a whole bunch of score lines along it. I'm using my scraper tool, and I'm putting the score line on the edge of my scraper tool to help me fold along all those little lines. And I'm going to fold those score lines in a zigzag formation, so towards me and away from me, all the way. So I'm folding a valley fold and then a mountain fold in succession. So an accordion fold all the way along the length of this rectangle. So this gives me a nice little V pattern. So I'm going to put glue on the very last panel, and then I'm going to bring the other end over, and I'm going to place my other end right on top of that piece that has glue on it, making sure that the edges are even. I'm just going to pinch it with my reverse tweezers while that glue dries, so it makes a nice circular shape. And then I'm going to take my bottle and I'm going to put that piece around the neck of my bottle. And so for this part, I'm heating up my glue gun. So now I'm going to carefully put a bead of hot glue around the top of my bottle, trying to keep it as even as possible. And then I'm positioning, I'm trying to distribute my red piece around the top. I'm missing some glue here. And then I'm laying my bottle down on my mat. I'm just pushing down a little bit just to make sure it's even with the top of my bottle. And then I have a circle that goes on the top, and I'm just adding hot glue around the perimeter, and then placing my circle, trying to center it as best I can. And then I have my label. I'm going to use hot glue for my label as well. I'm going to put a bead of hot glue on that front panel, and I'm going to center my label and just tack it down. I'm removing the cap at the bottom. I'm just pressing down from the inside to make sure that that glue takes. And then I'm putting a bead of glue just on the very edge of my label, kind of stretching it over, but I want it to still curve. I don't want it to follow the lines of the bottle. And I'm going to do that on the other end as well. I'm just putting glue just along the edge and then just wrapping it around and going in there and pressing firmly. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my label at the top. Now I want the star image here. You could choose any image you want. I'm just putting a little bit of glue in the center one. So this is my center. I'm just positioning my label as centered as I can. Glue on the edge, stretching it over and gluing it down. Doing that for the other end as well. I've used hot glue for this and it does a pretty good job. It's a little bit messier, but it does a pretty good job. For the label part, you could either glue it on or use double-sided tape or red line tape to adhere your label to the bottle. And so that's my bottle gift box.